Hey, what's up? Like, totally time for 90210.
Well, hello everyone. Welcome back to the 90210 show. My name is Mark. With me, as always, is my wife, Carol. How you doing today, Carol?
Hey, what's up?
Not much. It's been a good week here. It is April 28th, 2000.
It is.
We are rocketing to the end of 90210 as we know it, and by that I mean the show.
Right?
Both ours and theirs.
Well, not all of ours.
No, but this show,
The 90210
I look
show.
at our shows as separate entities,
I do not.
as separate life forms that we have birthed, and we are about to sacrifice this one onto the altar of their stopping to do shows.
Wow, there's just so much terrible imagery there. It's just, yeah.
Remember
Birthing and sacrifice.
Remember when we talked about the 90210 dolls?
Yes. I remember when we gave some away.
We gave some away. Lucky winner. Do you still listen? Anyway, so
If you do, say hi.
right. But anyway, so next month is the end
That's so crazy.
of the show.
This is the end.
Yeah.
This is the end, my friend.
I'm not familiar with that one.
I believe it's a song from The Doors, but I don't remember the name of it. And
Oh, yeah. When you said it sounded familiar, but I couldn't place it.
yeah.
This is the end, my friend. I don't know. Anyway, this is the
What the fuck is going
doing
on?
Gregorian chanting. It's all right.
Okay.
Love is Blind, though, Carol.
Yeah. What?
That's the name of the episode.
I know, but now every time you start out by saying the name of the episode, then it's like my brain wants to try to explain the name of the episode.
I assume it's the end because of the blind date at the end.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Thank you.
You're welcome. One of the easier ones to decode. Some of these names are so awful. So just like, do you remember the last week's episode was, and don't forget to give me back my black t-shirt.
Yeah.
Because it's a breakup thing?
Yeah,
It's weird.
it is. So there's no breakups this episode.
No. Well, there is one, actually. There's one. Oh, God. We watched this last night, and you still don't know anything about the show. There's one definite breakup and one potential breakup. She looks lost and confused. Oh my God. It's like I'm a teacher standing in front of class and being like, so we're going to do a test on World War II today. You know, we've been studying it for the past 2 months, and your face is like, I thought we were studying World War I. What happened? I didn't see the other eye.
Okay.
Where do you want to start?
No, wait a minute. So, Steve and Janet are not breaking up.
No, that's correct.
Okay.
She's like checking in on Friends. Wait, it's not Steve and Janet, is it? No.
Kelly and Matt are still together.
Potentially, yes. Potentially not.
They didn't break up.
But that is a potential they might break up situation.
Okay. And who else is there?
So who I'm talking about is Noah and
Oh.
the fucking...
Well, who gives a shit? I don't care about them.
She's now relieved.
Oh my goodness.
Obviously you don't care about them. You don't remember their storyline at all.
No, I mean, it's like, I don't even count that as a breakup because it's like a non-relationship anyway.
Let's talk about that storyline first, I guess.
Okay.
Noah meets, I think her name's Amy. I don't remember, but I think it's Amy.
Sure.
We're just going to call Alcoholic Amy.
I don't
AA.
think it's Amy.
Well, we'll call her AA, Alcoholic Amy.
All right.
Anyway.
She sounds like a doll.
He meets, the 90210 company or Mattel or whatever. Why don't you make Alcoholic Amy dolls?
There we go.
Then, we had a lack of boys That's what it was.
Yeah.
So then we have another girl, but yeah,
we need more boys.
Yeah, make a Matt doll.
Ew.
What would you want them to make? Of the dolls they didn't make.
I mean, there's already a Dylan, right?
Yes, of course.
Is there a Steve? There's not a Steve. They should make a Steve.
They
should make a fuzzy-headed Steve.
They could partner with the Chia Pet Company and make a Steve doll.
Well, like I remember there was a fuzzy.
Yeah, good.
There was a fuzzy-headed Alan, and like I could just picture a blonde
fucking Alan again,
and he could be Steve.
Oh, yeah. Well, did Alan and Midge ever have their baby?
Yes, they did. They did.
What did they name it?
Because the pregnant Midge doll's tummy opens up and the baby comes out.
Oh, Jesus. I think Ridley Scott played with that doll when he was younger.
Ew.
And an inspired alien.
Ew. Anyway.
So let's talk about this episode. Anyway, Noah meets Amy's daughter.
Yeah, well, hadn't
and she
he already?
loves Noah for whatever reason.
Or he hadn't. But so he knew about the daughter, and he thinks that, I guess, alcoholic Amy is feeling like guilty about not seeing the daughter, and that's what triggers her to drink.
It's so dumb. Okay, so they're riding in his car, and she's like
Driving.
Yeah, they're driving in her car. That's driving and riding at the same time.
Uh-huh.
She's riding him while they're driving in the car.
It's the chase.
The kids know the word that word, driving.
Oh my god. Anyway.
So they're driving, and she's like, oh man, I'm so mad.
What is happening? Dear God.
She's like, they give us the exposition right up top where what's his name? Noah's like, hey, it's okay or whatever, like that we didn't get to see your daughter. And she's like, I'm so mad my mom changed plans the last minute on us or whatever. And he's like, they're talking about the daughter, and he's like, you want to be in her life or whatever. Like, you want to be, there for her and everything. And he goes, why do you drink? And she's like, I don't know, basically. And he's like, I think you drink out of guilt because of guilt of not being there for your daughter. So if you're there for your daughter, then you won't drink. You won't feel guilty, and then you won't drink. So
is this a chicken egg thing? Because I feel like she feels guilty for not being there for her daughter because she was drinking. So what made her start drinking before she felt guilty for not being there for her daughter?
Exactly. Like when we were watching, I was like, that's really dumb.
Yeah.
And dumb advice. Because it's like, I'm in recovery. I'm in a very vulnerable spot right now. Let me take on more responsibility and more stress.
And let me, go be around my kid and get her all excited and then maybe drop back out of her life.
Yeah, don't you think maybe the fear of not being able to follow through and emotionally damaging your daughter would be more of a trigger to drink, not less?
You would think, yeah. Oh, yeah, I agree. That was terrible. And then, so they go talk to her mom.
They end up meeting at a playground, and they're all like, she's like, Noah, push me. I want to go high or whatever. And it's like, I'm instantly bonded with you somehow.
Yeah, it's weird. And then alcoholic Amy and her mom are arguing on the playground.
You can see them in the back. It's really kind of a funny shot. Like, the Noah and the little girl are going off to the swings together, and like in the background, obviously this director studied the rule of thirds. In the top third of the frame, they're like two Italians arguing with their hands and stuff in the background.
And Noah's got this big smile. The little girl's so happy. They got their backs to them, so she's not seeing any of it.
It's very funny, the contrast.
And then another time, Noah's supposed to meet Amy at the mom's.
Yeah.
But she's not there yet. She's running late. And she hasn't communicated with either the mom or Noah that she's running late.
Right.
And the mom's like, maybe she's not going to come. You know where she might be. Like, gets, like, totally, like, in his head about that.
Oh, 100% in his head. And she's like, he's arguing for her, and he's like, you know, she wants to be here for whatever. And he's like, yeah, well, you know, you weren't here the last 3 times she wanted to be here for her daughter. And, like, you sound just like the other 2 guys. She's the last 2 guys she's brought home. Or whatever. And so it seems like she's still in her pattern, by the way.
Yeah.
Aren't you supposed to break out of your pattern? I haven't been to AA, but aren't you supposed to break out of your patterns or whatever?
I would think so, yeah.
So he's like, oh, fuck. And so he leaves. And then they see each other later. And they're in his car again. Not driving this time, though, because she is mad at him. And she's like, hey, how long were you at my mom's house? And he's like, I don't know. She's like, 5-10 minutes? He was like, yeah, probably about that. And she's like, yeah. And then you went and looked for me. Where'd you look? He's like, places I thought you'd be. She's like, bars, right? Yeah, I was 15 minutes late because I stopped to get art supplies for my daughter because she likes to draw. And you went and fucking looked at every dive bar in town looking for me. So, listen, I need to focus on my daughter right now. You need to get the fuck out of my life.
Yeah, I kind of feel like she's being pretty unfair.
Well, yeah, considering that the mom, like, fucking gaslit him into thinking that she was off the wagon.
Yeah.
Or on the wagon.
Well, and,
Whichever
like, she's been sober for 3 weeks. She tells her mom that. Her mom's like, 3 whole weeks. But, I mean, that's
mom's
really...
a bitch.
Her mom is a bitch, but that's really not that long also.
Right.
So, I mean, it's a very tenuous state.
Exactly. And she has relapsed with him. Like, I mean, not with him, but, like, since he's known her.
Yeah.
So it's like, I'm not supposed to check to make sure, you know? Like, if I had a friend that was suicidal and I checked, like, you know, the bathroom to make sure the razor blades were in order and, like, fucking checked the nearest rope stores, made sure all the stools were where they were supposed to be and everything, made sure the pill bottles were still where they were supposed to be. And my friend was like, I just went for milk. Oh, you fucking checked everything out? Well, you're suicidal, right?
Right.
So, like, I checked the worst places first. That's like what they say if you have a kid and you're playing hide and seek or whatever, or just whatever, your kid's hiding from you, and you can't find them, check the dangerous places first. Because if they're in the dryer or like someplace where air is going to run out or something like that, getting to them as soon as possible is important.
Yeah.
If they're hiding underneath a table, then they can hide for another couple minutes underneath the table. That's fine.
That makes sense.
So, yeah, he was checking the most dangerous places first.
Yeah, so they're done, and I'm so, so glad because that storyline is so annoying. Yeah. I hope they're actually done. I feel
think they are.
Because the show's wrapping up, any breakups at this point have to be final.
Yeah, well, I think they just didn't know what to do with her, so they were like, whatever, she's done.
Yeah, she was awful anyway. Like, I hated it. I hated every minute of it.
So then we have Donna and David. You know, they kind of have they definitely have a storyline. Mm-hmm. This episode, Matt, Noah, and Dylan have a storyline.
Matt, Kelly, and Dylan, you mean?
Yeah, that's what
Not
I mean.
Noah.
That's what I mean, yes. And then I think that's it, really, kind of, right? Does anybody else do anything? Are there other characters on the show anymore?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Steve and Janet.
I knew I was forgetting one. Steve and Janet have
a big storyline.
An impactful storyline.
Yeah, so some rich guy collects papers and wants to buy theirs, basically. Yeah. I mean, it's weird.
Collects papers. That is a funny way to do it. So this is kind of how the episode starts. The episode technically starts in the Peach Pit. We get Nat for probably the last time. Being like, hey, you want pie? Remember I got married one time? I had kids or something? What the fuck's going on with me?
He'll be in the last episode, I bet.
But this guy comes into the newspaper and he's like, yeah, I love your paper. I love that story that you wrote about fucking whatever. And he was like, oh, Janet wrote that. That was Janet's idea. The Leprechaun of L.A. or whatever. And she's like, yeah, I just followed little people around.
Oh, gosh.
I don't know. But he's like, well, let me cut to the chase here. I want to buy your paper.
And Steve's like, it's not for sale.
And they do the classic thing. And they're like, why? Why do you want to buy the Beverly Beat? And he's like, I'm based in New York. I need a foothold in Los Angeles for something. I don't know.
He owns like 7 other papers.
Right. But he's like, they do the classic thing where they're like, let me write down a number and I'll pass it along to you. And I think the reason they do that usually is because they don't want to settle on a number for the audience, you know? They want the audience to use their imagination. Oh, what could this number be or whatever, right? Because otherwise you just say it, right? So he's like, let me write down a number and pass it to you. So he writes down a number, pass it to him. And he opens it up and we just see...
$750,000.
Which is a lot of money, but it's also not, like, it's
Beverly Hills.
And they've tripled their circulation or whatever, according to Janet, and it's like... I would think that the show would choose a bigger number.
Yeah, like
to entice them.
At least $1 million.
Yeah,
like a good home in that area probably costs $1 million. So
I would imagine. I don't know much about the Los Angeles real estate market.
Me either. But I just imagine everything out there is expensive. So yeah, but I mean, like, I don't know. Steve's like, let's give it a shot. Mm-hmm. And, you know, it'll take a long time to finalize everything. And if we don't like how it's going, we'll back out. Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, don't they just sign papers? Like, how easy is it to back out of a sale?
Right. It doesn't take a long time to sell something when you already have a buyer.
Well, the point is, so the reason, what they're talking about trying out or whatever is the guy's like, look, so he's like, Steve's like, so what would happen? Who would run the paper? And he's like, well, when I buy papers, I consolidate management, which essentially means, you know, they're whatever, like
you'd be gone.
He manages the paper, but I keep the editorial staff. So Steve, you'd go, and Janet would stay because Janet would have to. He's like, I need editorial continuity. I would need the paper to continue to do what it's doing because that's why it's popular. So Steve would stay home with Maddie. And Janet would go to work. Mm. And Steve's like, I don't know, I feel like fucking emasculated or whatever. It's so weird. And she points it out, too. He's talking about, like, feeling emasculated and stuff. And I get that to a degree. But they have $750,000 because of him. So it's like he's been worried about not being able to provide for the family. So they have all this money that he brings in. Having her salary is nice and everything, and that'd be great. And obviously, $750,000 is not going to set him up for the rest of their lives, but that buys him a lot of time.
Yeah,
to think or go into some other business and stuff too. And in the meantime, like if they live even somewhat reasonably, he could literally probably be there for like 5 years. The first like 5 years of Maddie's life till she goes off to starts going off to school before he settles into another job. That's incredibly valuable time.
Well, like Janet says, you know, use it to start another business. Right. So, I mean, I would imagine he's not going to use all of it. I would keep some of it as a nest egg.
But anyway, so that's their major conflict is and at the beginning, so she goes off to work and he spends the day hanging out with Maddie.
Which is cute. It
is cute, and they get into some, you know, funny shenanigans. They weave in and out of the different plots that are going on.
He's got one of those beer hats that he fills with, like, milk, and he has her drinking out of a straw from the patent.
He's like, and I can feed her hands-free. I'm thinking of applying for a patent.
It's smart.
It's really not a bad idea, honestly.
I like it.
But, what the fuck is that? Do you have a bird in your pocket? What is going on?
I don't know, I guess so.
She's got a new fucking beeper or something, everybody, and it keeps buzzing.
Yep. Buzz, buzz.
It's pissing me off. We're trying to do a show. Can you focus, please?
Mm-hmm.
Well, can't you at least turn the chime off?
Yes, I just did.
She's like, oh, you can! And you didn't before we started recording. Thanks!
You're welcome.
Jesus. Yeah, she's on call from her work.
Yep.
And they beep her or whatever fucking device they gave you to contact you.
It dings a lot.
Yes, yeah. It's annoying.
Sorry.
Speaking of annoying, back to 90210.
Yeah, darn those day jobs.
But yeah, now Steve doesn't have a day job.
Yeah.
And that's valuable. But so that's he's like I said, he kind of weaves in and out of the plots and everything. He ends up going to see David because he's like, oh fuck, I am so fucking done with, like, I feel like I need man time or whatever. So they watch the Three Stooges. Which, like, I've always found that dumb. I don't like slapsticky comedy, and I don't like the Three Stooges, but that's like a stereotypical guy thing.
Sure.
But and then he says to David, he's like, oh, Janet knows someone we want to set you up with, a blind date.
And in the meantime, David and Donna have been spending all kinds of time together.
Yeah, well, because he broke up with...
The blonde.
They say her name again, Camille.
Yeah,
he broke up with Camille, and she broke up with the web design guy.
And so, like, they're hanging out and, like, watching movies and, like, doing their thing that they've always been doing anyway, even when they were with other people. Mm. And they fall asleep on the couch together.
Yeah.
And wake up in the morning all cuddled up.
And she's, like, all on top of him and everything. And, like, oh, did you sleep okay and stuff? And then they start, like, talking about how they feel about each other.
Well, like, they almost kiss is the thing.
Yeah.
I think that starts the conversation.
And Donna admits that she has feelings for David. And David says he has feelings for her. But she says, but I don't want to do anything about it because we're friends and, like, this friendship is so valuable to me and maybe it could be better. Like, maybe it would be more, but maybe we'd break up again. And then we'd lose our friendship. And, you know, I need you, like, so much. Like, when my dad died, I leaned on you and blah, blah, blah.
And she's like, you're my go-to person for everything.
And it's like...
That's what your lover person is supposed to be, too.
Yeah, well, also, like, you dated him, and then you guys broke up, and you stayed friends.
Yeah.
Like, it already worked once.
Yeah, I think it's faulty logic, for sure.
But yeah, she doesn't want to do it, and so he's like, okay, we won't, because you don't want to.
Yeah. So then somebody tells her mom tells her.
Yeah, well, because let's talk a little bit about what's going on with her plot line, too.
Okay.
Because the mom is selling the house.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, this is stupid. I mean, not stupid that the mom's selling the house. That makes sense.
Makes perfect sense that she's selling the house.
Donna's reaction's stupid.
Donna's like, it's home. I love it.
Yeah, please don't sell the house.
Mom's like, one more Christmas there.
And Mom's like, this house is too big. It's full of memories. I don't want to be in anymore. That makes sense. She lives alone in a giant house where she lived with her husband.
Yeah, and where her husband died in that house.
Yeah, like, let her sell the house. Stop being a selfish bitch.
So they invite them over for, like, one last whatever hurrah, and they end up like David insisted they plan this, like, Christmas thing for her, so they're trimming the tree.
It's very cute.
And then afterwards, it's just her and her mom, and this is so funny too. They're like, oh, you know, let's look at the house one last time. And they go to that stock footage still image of the house. Like, you know, they have different ones for different things. Like, it's the same shot for, like, the Walsh house. When they show the exterior of the Walsh house, it's that, like, static shot. When they show this house, it's the static shot. When they go to the Beverly Beat, it's that static, like, well, it's not static, but it's that, like push-in shot where they go from underneath and they push into the building. It's the same shot every single time. But they hold for an extra few beats on this static shot of the house, and it's like because they're doing their farewell tour or whatever. It's like they're saying goodbye to that stock footage image,
right?
And it's like, you've served us well, stock image. Salute to you. We're all supposed to stand up and clap or something. But she's like, oh, you know what? I have somebody that I want to set you up with. It's a blind date. They're fucking perfect for you. And she's like, how's he socially connected? And she goes, he's not. And she's like, what what club does he belong to? He doesn't.
Yeah, she's like, it's weird because, like, you know, obviously her mom would never set her up with somebody who didn't have that stuff. But.
It makes it painfully obvious, though.
It does.
Like hearing both of them that what's going to happen, but it's fine. Whatever, it's cute.
Yeah, because then David and Donna, of course, show up for their date.
Their blind dates. They've been set up with each other by their respective people in their lives.
So they finally, like, talk it out and like, well, maybe they know something. Maybe they're smart. Maybe they should be together.
Yep.
Idiots. Shouldn't take them that long.
So I guess they're together now.
Yay.
We got where we wanted to get.
They got you where you wanted to go.
And then the last storyline we have,
Kelly and Matt and Dylan,
is the love triangle.
This is irritating.
I wonder if they planned part of this when Jason Priestley was still on the show and this was supposed to be him instead of this new Matt character. But I wonder if they planned... I mean, maybe they didn't, but I wonder if they planned part of this, like, love triangle thing for him. Because, remember, this never came up again, but remember how he probably fucked the punk rock girl?
Oh, yeah, he cheated, yeah.
That night that Kelly got burned alive or whatever?
Yeah. I forgot about that. Yeah, she's all healed now.
Because I feel like... I feel like... that this whole cheating thing, it so reminds me of that. Mm-hmm. And I feel like maybe that was supposed to be like a thing to like come between them or whatever. I don't know. It's weird that they had Matt cheating, but they're not doing anything about it really. He mentions it. Well, like, is that going to come up at some point?
I think it will. I think it will next episode, and that's going to be the final straw.
Maybe, yeah. But he mentions it once briefly again. When he's talking to Dylan. But they're doing all this. They've set a date, August 12th or whatever, which is after the show ends. Because the show ends in May.
Yeah, I kind of thought it'd end on their wedding if they were going to get married, but, you know, there we go.
Maybe
they're
not.
gonna.
But they're doing all this planning and trying on tuxes and stuff like that. And they tell Dylan to save the day.
Yeah, they go up to him in his car, I think at his house or whatever.
It was in front of the Peach Pit.
Okay, whatever. They go up to him and like, oh, save the date. We set a date for our wedding. Like, you know he has feelings for you. Mm-hmm. Why are you rubbing it in his face? Like, that's rude.
He wants you to rub it in his face, but not that.
I just think it's really rude. She's like giving him a guilt trip. Like, of course you're going to be there. Like, why would he want to be there?
Yeah, they're exes.
Stupid.
He says, I have a dentist appointment that day, which is funny because it's, you know, that's like a horrible thing you wouldn't want to do. He's like, I'd rather be going to the dentist than doing this.
Right. So then he says, oh, you know what? I changed my mind. He goes up to them now at the After Dark. I changed my mind. I will be at the wedding, and here's a wedding gift.
Here's an early wedding gift.
And it's round the world tickets.
Oh, open-ended tickets.
Remind me this. Like, I vaguely remember this came up before, but you know my memory sucks. Like, so do you remember this?
When he was, like, going to propose to her or whatever, I think it was part of the whole, like, choose between me and Brandon thing. But, like, he proposed that they go off together and travel the world.
So, he's, like, basically...
Instead of marrying Brandon, come and travel the world with me.
But he was also proposing marriage, wasn't he?
I think so, yeah.
Because, I mean, like, she was like, I choose me.
Yeah, exactly.
But so it's kind of... Now that makes it a little more significant. Like, he's kind of re-offering that. And
yes.
He's acting like it's for her and Matt, but it's really not.
Yes. And Matt calls him out and is like, it's pretty fucking obvious, isn't it? Yeah. He's like, I watched the show. I did research.
So he gives him the tickets back. Mm-hmm. And, I don't know. And then he has a talk with Kelly. Matt has a talk with Kelly. He's like, you know what? I don't think I like you getting offered trips around the world every 5 years.
Yeah.
And it turns out he's been, has a job interview for a job in San Francisco.
Seattle.
Even further away.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, I think we should go because of that. That's like a lot of alarm bells to me, like in either one of their shoes, because like how tenuous is your relationship if you need to run away to keep it together.
From this guy, yeah.
Yeah. But she doesn't want to really go, and then he doesn't even get the job, but he still wants to go.
Yeah. He's like, I still think we should move.
She's like, it's one thing if we're running to something, but running away from something, that doesn't make sense. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so at the end of the episode, this is the part you must have forgotten or whatever. At the end of maybe you were driving at the time. At the end of the episode, Dylan has her meet him at the cliffside or whatever. And he's like, she's like, you can't give me gifts like that or whatever. And he's like, what about you? You came to me and you were talking about, making a commitment, like really going in or whatever. And she's like, yeah, well, the ship has sailed because I asked you and you said you did nothing. You
chose not to or something.
Yeah.
He's like, I want to choose again. I want to choose different.
Ask me to choose again or whatever. And she's like, and she goes to leave and he like grabs at her. But instead of like grabbing her arm or whatever, like being like super forceful, the camera shows like he's grabbed her hand. And it's like, so I guess it's supposed to be more loving or whatever.
I guess. I don't know. It was weird. It seemed awkward.
Well, and I'll tell you why it seemed awkward. And I think maybe this is kind of on purpose. We make fun of the show a lot. And this is some basic shit, so it's not like it's like the greatest directing ever. But I'm going to give some props to the director, at least, of the episode.
Okay.
So in the blind date scene between David and Donna, as they're talking, they're sitting at the table. They're sitting, instead of sitting across from each other, they're like kitty corner. It's like a square table. They're kitty corner to each other. So they're kind of next to each other. As they're talking, because there's a decent amount of dialogue that leads up to the kiss that they have. They're doing reverse shot, which is pretty basic kind of stuff. Where you see, you've got you're looking at the one person, and then the reverse shot is over their shoulder, looking at the other person's face. And as they're doing that, the camera is slowly panning in. So like with every cut, it's like pan into David. So they start out with a pretty normal establishing, like medium shot, where it's the two of them. You see the table, you see all that stuff. And then as their conversation goes and they go back and forth, they're going closer and closer and closer to where at one point both of their heads are in frame, and it's like that's all you see is their faces in frame. And so it gives the impression, because we're getting closer to them, that they're getting closer and closer too. So it's like it builds this anticipation of you want them to get closer, you want them to kiss, that kind of pull, right? So that's how they film that. And then when they kiss, it feels like a climax of like, yay, we reached our goal kind of thing. When they filmed this, it's a similar scene, really. They're not at a table or whatever, but they're doing shot, reverse shot. But they're isolating everything. Nothing's getting closer in this shot. So we see Dylan and then we see Kelly, and everything's isolated. And there's no moving in, there's no getting closer at all during this conversation. And the one time we see them, quote unquote, together is an isolated shot of their hands like that. So it feels disjointed, but I think it's supposed to convey the feeling of they're not together. These two are getting together, and that's why the camera's doing what it's doing. These two are still very separated, and even when they're together, it's just like an isolated feel. It's not even connected to their bodies.
That makes sense.
So I think that's what they're doing with those shots. Because maybe they'll get together, but they're not now. But there's enough strife there where it's like maybe her and Matt will not stay together.
Yeah, well, I really hope they don't. I want her with Dylan.
I want this cheating thing to come out.
Yeah.
The cheating happens too often on this show, and then it's just swept under the rug.
So for your morals, you would like him to have comeuppance.
Yeah.
Even though he was drugged and didn't really
I'm not saying, well, first of all, I just don't think they should be together.
I agree.
But second of all, I don't necessarily think that if these were real human beings, I wouldn't necessarily say oh, you got to break up with them or whatever. But I think he should tell her.
Yeah, he should. You're right.
There was a funny thing that happened at the beginning of the episode though, when they're together, right before they talk to Dylan. he was saying something to her, and he's like, "Oh, when you it turns me on when you're what did he say, self-righteous?
And you're righteous like this."
Yeah, and I said, "Oh, you must be turned on a lot."
Yeah, and I was thinking, "Oh, good for you."
Right. But yeah, that's that's where we leave things. Donna and David are together. Matt and Kelly
might not
on
be
shaky ground.
right.
Dylan's trying to be a fly in the ointment.
Steve and Janet have probably sold the paper for like hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Yeah, and like he'll probably just be a stay-at-home dad at least for a while, or when the show ends anyway.
And Noah and his weird alcoholic girlfriend broke up.
Yeah.
So yeah, good episode.
Yeah.
How many more we got?
It was a good episode.
It really was.
I believe there's 3 more,
and that's 2 of them in a row.
Yeah, 2 of the. So the release schedules come out from TV Guide and everything. So there's another episode I think next week, or maybe a couple weeks from now. I'd have to look again. But there's one more episode, and then the big finale night.
2-part.
Yeah, the big finale night. It's two-part episode, so it's 2 hours of 90210. I think they're doing some kind of retrospective and everything too. So
we only have 2 more 90210 tapes to make.
I believe so. Yes.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy.
End of an era.
Yep.
But yeah, that is the episode for the week. Carol, tell people where they can find Fuzzy-Headed Allen Doll.
You can write us at latefee1994 at AOL.com. Mm-hmm. Check out our website at www.retrolatefee.com.
Yep.
And share the tapes with your friends.
We'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.